just the best part of my day.
Nope, scratch that. Reverse it.
My grandma and your grandma sitting by the fire. My grandma told your grandma, I'm gonna set your flag on fire. Talking about hey now,
Hey now,
hey now,
hey now.
I go one day.
Oh,
Jacques ma finale, Jacques ma finale. Look at my king all dressed in red. I go one day. I bet you $5 he'll kill you dead. Jacques ma finale. Talk about hey now,
hey now,
hey now,
hey now.
I go one day.
Oh,
Jacques ma finale.
Excellent. So we were very briefly talking about one Cameron Crowe. A cat has entered. There's two cats actually in your image now, Kat. That's Prairie, right?
That's Prairie Dog, yeah.
And you realize. So I was thinking about Prairie. They live in your home. They're your pal. Mm-hmm. So you have yourself a little Prairie Home companion.
Exactly. And I love that. And I don't know if the person who passed on Prairie Dog to me didn't die. Just rehomed Prairie to me.
In the will, Prairie Dog will be looked after. Bye.
Inherited Prairie Home companion. I don't know if that was because it was. I think she's named after. No, I just got you a scratching post, and I put catnip on it, so you don't need to scratch this chair. You don't. I think she's named after a place. A suburb in Minnesota called Eden Prairie, where a past situationship, that past flirtationship, and a couple other friends are from. There's like a slew of sober trans people I know from Minnesota. It's been wild.
And Prairie Dog has sort of just passed between them. Like we could make, like an experimental indie film about like Prairie Dog going from like person to person, story to story.
Yeah, it would be Prairie Home Companion, but
yeah.
It would
we should
probably
just make a movie called Prairie Home Companion. I know there is one already, but we should just do it. Yeah,
we should pitch it to A24 and be like, but it's dark. It's about a broken home. It's about a cat being passed from place to place.
It's Lake Placid meets Lake Wobegon from Prairie Home Companion. And we better tap out now because I've exhausted the list of things I know about Prairie Home Companion.
I know nothing. Yeah, I know zero things.
Even as...
You knew a significantly more amount than I would.
I've seen the film.
I wanted Harry. I wanted this background, but then my thing is making sure I pick a Julia. But that is the preferable.
That is
choice.
The money. That's the titular money from the Money Monster. That is the money.
So is he the money monster? That's a question to get in.
Right. Is the money monster the system?
And
the algo is the monster. I feel like there could have been an easy line placement there where you could be like, the algo is the monster.
Yeah.
But no.
Wall Street is the monster.
Wasn't the thing that the algo wasn't bad? Dominic West was bad?
Yeah.
So maybe McNulty is the money monster, right? He's the real money monster because he was doing corporate crimes. And this is important. So this is the second episode in a row where it feels like we just really want to talk about the movie that we're here to talk about.
Well, the background changed.
Inspired it, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember seeing immediately first scene of this movie, the way it opened. I forgot what the movie was about entirely. I think like deep in the recesses of my mind, I remembered like a trailer or something that I had seen of this movie. Mm-hmm. But I was immediately sold. And also, my mom, maybe we don't have to go straight into the movie. My mom was obsessed with Jim Cramer growing up. So I didn't know it was that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then when it opened that way, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to be on a fucking ride. I was so excited. Yeah.
We're strapped in. In the annals of great opening scenes, in movie history, you've got like the silent first 20 minutes of There Will Be Blood. You've got the incredible, gathering of the posse as they wait for a train in Once Upon a Time in the West. And of course you have George Clooney's opening dance number of the 2016 film Money Monster. When we discuss great opening scenes, this is what we are talking about.
Seeing George dance is something
a rare pleasure.
Spiritual for me. Like, I needed that, and I didn't even know I needed that from George. But it's interesting because he has sort of like the handsomeness of Jon Stewart, but he's playing like a Jim Cramer type, and I feel like that's so much more fun to watch. Like a very handsome guy do something just so ridiculous and play into it as if like this is normal.
Yeah, well, I that was my thought, is that I would watch George Clooney do this.
Yeah, me too.
I would have watched this show
100%.
for real.
Me too. He would never do it unless he had a very compelling reason to.
Right, because he's a true billionaire or something. He sold his tequila company, or the tequila company that he was part owner of, for like a massive chunk of change. And he's the trophy husband of a UN ambassador. So like he literally never has to like work again if he doesn't want to. And he's been very open about this in interviews, right? Of like, I'm only going to work if there's something really in it for me. I'm only going to work if Julia and I are taking a ticket to paradise. You know what I mean?
I love the idea that it's the tequila and the UN ambassador that gave him money, not the multiple huge blockbusters we've
not
already
ER.
seen him.
ER
The
had
weird
nothing
thing
to do
about
with that.
the economy is-
none of the Ocean's movies.
I mean, listen, he was doing very well before the UN ambassador and the tequila company, but it's the way of economy that, like, yeah, he made way more money from the tequila than he's made for all of his acting work put together. Even, you know, when George is commanding like 10 million a movie, like in Michael Clayton from My Hat, you know, that's still nothing compared to tequila money.
Hey, is From My Hat, is that like a saying, or is there some sort of visual cue that the listeners might not
That the
be?
listener might not be privy to is that I'm wearing a Michael Clayton hat, my most apropos hat for the film that we are here to discuss, 2016's Money Monster.
You have so many intellectual property merch, and this is like truly one of the randomest ones. And the other one that comes to mind is, which isn't random, but just is kind of specific to you, is that you would have a Michael Clayton hat and you would also have a Greta Gerwig shirt. Like, that's very...
And both of those are true. The Greta Gerwig shirt is in. So let's do Kevin's hats, because I don't...
Did you see that Greta Lee is in this movie?
I sure did.
Yeah, I did. That
Greta
was
Lee
so
jump scare.
That was so exciting. And then I
like
tried
two
to like
scenes. It's like nothing.
Yeah, I tried to. I think because is Past Lives Korean? Am I crazy?
Yes, I believe they are from Korea.
Yeah, it's because she spoke Korean, and she like spoke Korean in that one scene, and so I think that was sort of the loose connection.
The great Greta Lee, she adds a lot of like character and personality to that,
She
to that
does.
role that is nothing on the page.
You need the sort
I
of
wish that she was the representative of Ibis instead of
that woman that sounds like Sharon Horgan.
yeah, that'd be way more fun.
I feel bad that I don't remember her name.
I didn't clock it, but I kept going, she sounds exactly like Sharon Horgan, and it's really throwing me off. I know that like English accents are a thing, but it's such
It
a
wasn't
specific
English
voice.
though, wasn't it? Like it was one of the other
It was one of the other ones.
I thought she was meant to be doing an American accent.
No.
Real? No.
No. I feel like it was definitely like Northern European
It was
/
one of those.
UK
From
/
one of
Irish
those
/
turf
Scotland
island countries,
/
yeah.
Welsh. I've just been watching a lot of Love Island, so I have the ear for it.
You have
right
a
now.
full entomology of English accents.
Is she the Outlander person?
These are good questions. I definitely like looked her up twice because I was like, "Who is this again?"
Okay. Also, John O'Connell, or is that John O'Connor? Right?
Jack
Jack O'Connell. Thank you. He was in Skins. And I've noticed British people love doing that sort of Bronx accent. And I was like, this is thick. And then I like thought I recognized him. And I was like, is that Cook from Skins? Skins is like what made me want to be an aspirational drug addict. Like that show is huge. It's a UK show. And he's been in a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
But he played this character Cook, who's just like I don't know, a lad's lad. And he's like so messy, Essex vibes. And it was just really fun to see him in something like this, because I think the last thing I saw him in was like the Bad Skins movies that they made a few years later, where the teens are adults, and there were like 3 of them, and all of them were sad in different ways and just kind of like missed the mark. So I hadn't, it was basically like that Aaron Paul Jesse Pinkman movie that like didn't quite.
El Camino, which
El
we all
Camino.
watched. Everyone watched it. Like,
El Camino
everyone has seen El
exists
Camino.
more than the film Money Monster exists.
Which is like horrible for Money Monster because El Camino, the Jesse Pinkman movie, like barely exists. To close
What about
one of
August
these
Osage
loops, to
County?
close one of these little circles. Yes, she is on 83 episodes of Outlander. She was also in Belfast. If anybody else here saw Belfast.
She had like Oscar buzz for that. That was a buzzy
She
performance.
is one of that kid's really hot parents. It's her and Jamie Dornan are the really hot parents in Belfast. I don't think she got the Oscar nom, but she was definitely like in talks a couple years ago. She's also in Ford v Ferrari, the American masterpiece Now You See Me, and so she works. But I'm not familiar. I couldn't pull her out of a lineup.
Guys, this movie got 59% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Just short of the tomato. It's on the splat borderline.
That's surprising to me.
There should be a middle tomato.
Yeah, there
Like
should
a
be
cooked tomato.
like it's not ripe, but you're like, I could still
Yeah,
cut
it's
that
not
up.
rotten,
I
but
could
yeah,
still
you could
use that.
yeah, you could use it in a
Irish.
sauce.
She's
Yeah.
Irish. I thought it was Irish, but I didn't
Well,
want
there
to
you
be
go.
wrong.
Is she Irish in this movie?
Yeah, she's
I think
a
so.
touch Irish. Well, the thing about Irish, somebody told me this, and so this is again one of those like watered down headline facts that I don't fact check. I just kind of say. But I think the more higher like wealth like bracket you are Irish, the closer it sounds to American. So like if you're not exactly, but like the more like I think there's something about their accents are less thick the higher in like socioeconomic
Sure.
rank.
You have
And
the
so if
rich
she's-
person accent.
The rich person accent, and so I think if she's a CCO, then she's sort of like, and she's international. It's less thick. I don't know if that's super true, but I already gave enough warning 7 different times that I don't know if that's true. So no one.
But I
no one
feel you.
quote me.
I get what you're getting at. While we're doing accent talk, yeah, Jack O'Connell, who I was not familiar with before watching the film Money Monster, comes on and just like has that fake American accent. I can clock it like 1,000 paces. Like has that like
But they love doing
Benedict Cumberbatch Doctor Strange accent, where I'm like, no one like that's
Isn't that
Americans don't
surprising?
actually talk like this
Because
yeah.
like usually British people and Australians are incredible at doing American accents and really like nuanced American accents, especially if they're like conservatory trained or someone who's like that advanced. And so it's surprising when you get like a Benedict Cumberbatch or someone like this where you're like, isn't this your whole thing?
I've been
They
rewatching
can.
Haunting a Hill House, and Michael
I
Huseman on that show, he has the same voice where it's that like
Or
it's it
saying
they all
it's
do
like
this kind of thing.
I'm
It's
Dr.
this.
House. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
solve
Dr.
your
Stephen
medicine.
Strange.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of like it
it's
though.
I can't really describe it. It's like the human vocal cord as if it were a rubber band like pulled taut. I can't think of like another way to really describe the patter of this, but it's like, yeah, that's one of those fake American accents. And it is generally easier if you're like a British person or an Australian person trying to be American to do one of our sub dialects as opposed to like the flat American, right? Like the British or the Bronx sort of affectation they have here, or like British people love playing Southern because it's not as far of a jump. It still has some of their like inherent sing-song quality.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. You are a New Yorker. Is he doing an accurate New York accent?
It's like good enough, you know what I mean? It's like it's fine. There are definitely like people I would encounter that it wasn't like a terrible, far-fetched, sort of accent. In a world where like Eddie Kingston exists, like this is a surmountable like accent from New York.
I think that his girlfriend, who's doing one of those Brooklyn accents that sounds like she's from Boston. She sounds like
that
Ben
was a
Affleck
little-
in Good Will Hunting.
That
You're
was a little-
fucking
that was a little
loser.
rough.
You're a loser, and you'll always be a fucking loser.
You always be a fucking cop. Yeah, exactly.
This is his Cockney. Wait,
Cookie's got nothing.
Everything all right, guys?
wait, hold on.
Cookie's
I'll be honest, I'm not really getting this.
Yeah, I know, because it's like rave music.
She can't stand it. Can't stand the love, so she fucked me instead.
What's he saying? Oh, God. What?
Wow.
Shit.
It's called like look.
The ability of an actor to transform, and this is a very high tech podcast, as everyone can tell. This is a very high tech operation. We're running at the heights here because this is, of course, Run the Julias, the only podcast brave enough to cover every single cinematic work of America's sweetheart Julia Roberts. I am one of your hosts, TV's Kevin Lanigan, and if I were in a Money Monster type scenario, I think I'm opening up the phone lines. I think, you know what I mean? Like, I'm getting the live callers in, and while there's a gun to my head, I'm like, Pete from Whistle Stop, Ohio, you're on the line. You know, I want to hear what they have to say.
So that's your response to being taken hostage?
If I'm live on television, if I'm doing my live nightly show called Money Monster, where I am the Money Monster, I'm like, yeah, might as well. Let's take some calls. Let's see what the people have to say.
And I'm Cat Scott, sometimes Jessie Cat, use they them pronouns. And if I was in a Money Monster situation, I would want the really clunky but really entertaining Netflix project Everybody in LA by John Mulaney. And I think I would want that vibe. I think I would want that vibe as the show that's going on during the hostage situation. I feel like John Mulaney handling it is like the second most interesting choice to George Clooney playing this role.
That's a very interesting movie. I would like to see Mulaney attempt something like that.
Money Monster 2. Too Money, Too Furious.
Yeah. When we do like direct, as much as this movie already feels like a direct to fucking DVD movie, like the direct to DVD sequels to Money Monster to cash in on the huge Money Monster that this film was at the box office.
Well, it would be Netflix. It would be Netflix, and they would just use the same set from Everybody in LA.
Yeah, it sounds good. And joining us here, our guest.
My name is Harry Kolmer. I use he, they pronouns, and I guess so. We're saying we're the hosts of a Money Monster, and
go crazy. If you're in a Money Monster type scenario, whatever that means to you.
Well, you know, I honestly think that I would try to do the dumb money thing that George Clooney tries to do in the movie, to be like, all right, all we have to do is just, if we all buy the stock right now, we get us all out of the hole. It's all fixed. Let's just do it. And I think that I would have the same reaction that George Clooney did, of just absolute disappointment.
It was kind of crazy when he did the GameStop stock thing. It was
I wanted
crazy
it.
When he did.
I wanted it so bad, and I wanted it to work because I was like, I've seen it work. I know it works.
To the moon.
And then when it didn't work, I was like, surely they're gonna come back to it. This is gonna solve everything. This is gonna be more a moral thing. And then they didn't come back to it, and it turned into an action thing with cops. And I was like, okay.
The first time I watched the movie, I thought it was gonna lead into a scenario where he was working like with the corporation, and they were gonna raise the stock after like stealing a bunch of money. And I was like, oh, this is about to get real interesting. This is about to get super juicy. And then it's just like, no. The point is that no one cares about George Clooney.
It's kind of crazy. So yeah, we're talking about a movie that everyone is familiar with, the 2016 Jodie Foster directed Money Monster, starring George Clooney as the titular Money Monster, featuring also, of course, our girl Julia Roberts, but also Giancarlo Esposito, and a number of other people. And so to summarize the plot of this film, George Clooney plays a Jim Cramer Mad Money-esque host of a nightly show where he gives stock opinions. And people, you listen to him or you don't, but he's weighing in on what stocks you should buy and what you should sell. But there was a huge crash in the stock of a fictional company called Ibis, that overnight bankrupts a ton of people who had a bunch of stock in this. And one of those bankrupted people breaks into the studio during a live recording of Money Monster and takes George Clooney hostage and points a gun at him and puts a bomb on him. And it kind of becomes, one of those like tense hostage situation sort of movies from there. And I was looking at my Letterboxd, and the very few people that had seen Money Monster were throwing out 2s. And I think I saw like a 1.5 there as well. And I gotta say, I'm kind of a Money Monster sicko. I kind of had a really fun time watching the movie Money Monster.
Me too.
I had a nice evening for myself.
I saw that you liked it, and I got very excited.
It's not great. You know, it's not.
I liked it more than Charlie Wilson's War by
For
a good
sure.
amount.
Oh, for sure. Like, if you're comparing this to, like, Eat, Pray, Love, you know, which we've watched for this show, like, Money Monster eats.
Eat, Pray, Love's fucking
It
lunch.
eats, prays, and loves.
It eats and prays and loves far better than Eat, Pray, Love ever did. Far better than Mary Riley, Charlie Wilson's War, any of the other piles of shit that we've watched for this show. Money Monster, first of all, not long. I gotta give it up.
This
It's
is
a
pretty.
brisk 96 minutes.
96 with credits. I'm not mad about that. And it's not even like, it's really cheesy, it's really corny. It's not even like an airport novel. It's like a dollar novel. It's like a self-published ebook you find for like 99 cents, but in a way that's like kind of perfectly readable on the beach, in a way that you're like, I don't feel like I wasted a ton of time watching this. There were a couple of swerves that happen in the movie that like legitimately got me, and the first one was what we were discussing, where they're trying to GameStop the Ibis stock, and it doesn't work. Like, George Clooney is like, please, viewers at home on the live studio broadcast of Money Monster, we need to get this stock back up or this man is going to kill me. And the world says, die. Like, it was kind of crazy.
I really
Says,
like.
how
It
much
took
is
me
my
aback.
life worth? And
And they said
the
nothing.
stock goes down.
It goes down. They take it more.
That was shocking.
Which I don't know how it could possibly go down.
I don't-
like
I
I don't know how that worked.
I don't really get stocks. I don't really get what that whole stock market's all about, which probably helps me enjoy Money Monster, because I'm like, this is science fiction to me.
Right, exactly. You're just, when they're like, well, the algo and then the distribution of and it's impossible for and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
The second time I was watching it, I was taking notes, and I wrote for that algo conversation you just referenced. I wrote, "Is any of this real?"
Can't
And
be.
I don't think it is.
There's no fucking way. There's absolutely no way.
I've been asking Gemini a lot of questions, and maybe that's something that I should ask Gemini. Be like, hey, I've been recently deciding, off topic, I've been deciding to take it upon myself to like call Gemini out when I think something is like not it with gay stuff. 'Cause
Quick
I was
question,
like,
what is Gemini? Is that a person you know?
it's Google's Chat GPT, which
Oh,
they just sort of.
okay,
So
okay.
now when you Google something, you'll see sort of like a red, like fill-in thing that shows you where to find it on the article as a
And it's
suggested.
like usually very wrong. It's usually
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
aggregate nonsense. Okay.
Yeah, and so not always, but I was asking it about Stonewall. I was like, I know bricks were thrown. Who were they thrown at, etc. And then I was like, were there any deaths? And they were like, no, except apparently one bystander might have died of a heart attack later that night from the riots. And I said, hey, Gemini, I don't know if this is relevant to include in history. It kind of sounds like you're saying that the protests that this was about like wasn't worth it because somebody might have died of a heart attack, and it doesn't sound like you have any information on that. And Gemini was like, yeah, you're right. That is biased for these reasons. And I was like, okay, as long as we both know that, like, maybe
Gemini's
don't do that.
really gonna take that note to heart, you know. At the end of rehearsal, when the director's handing out notes, like Gemini's really gonna like keep that one close to the chest, you know. Gonna ruminate on that quite a bit.
And I'm the reason that we're building data centers at like a crazy rate because I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, absolutely. You are just tanking the environment. All you're just you're influencing this. You have a Money Monster-esque amount of power to influence, to sway the stock market.
And similarly, America wants to see me die if I was like buy stocks in my honor. I made a really terrible generated image, of which all of them are, but I was feeling disheartened by the by the political debate that I did not watch. I just saw watered down headlines through Instagram.
What might have been disheartening about it? What about the recent presidential debate did not instill you with a patriotic fervor?
Right, and I asked someone, I was like, so what else? And someone was like, Gavin Newsom. And I was like, cool. Who's that? And
it's your guy, actually.
And they
geographically.
I know, in California. And they're like, he's kind of hot and he's liberal. And I was like, you know what? Perfect. Let's do that one. And I made an AI generated image that was like, can you make Gavin Newsom riding on a unicorn with some like dolphins and rainbows in the background and like looking triumphant? And it's gonna be titled "I've Gavin Up," and now that's sort of my campaign for the rest of the election year.
That's your personal brand. Is I'm Gavin Up.
And we built 3 data centers for me to generate that image.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Those images are being generated in like the hottest room you can imagine, with like 6 oscillating fans like pointed at that while it's trying to create one JPEG for you.
Yeah, we took
not
precious
to brag,
minerals.
but I can make a JPEG easier than that, and in fact, I have because if y'all have been following my thoughts on the film Money Monster, I quite enjoyed it, 3 out of 5. But there was one element that I thought was really missing, which is that the Money Monster itself never makes an appearance. So I've kind of taken it of myself to generate an image of like what I thought the Money Monster maybe would look like.
Okay, I have questions immediately.
I like the coin slime.
Is the coins? Is that slime? Does it leave a trail of gold coins?
Yeah, it's up to interpretation, really. And listeners, if you want to see this, it will definitely be the art that I post with this episode. So what it kind of is, its main body is made of dollars, as you might imagine, sort of a dollar-based body. And it's kind of unclear whether or not the gold coins beneath it are like the true Money Monster, like if it's dollars encasing the coins, or if it leaves gold coins in a kind of slug-like trail behind it. You can maybe see, the eyes are coins as well, like sort of a quarter type situation. Anyway, this is my artistic interpretation of what I thought the Money Monster might look like.
And wasn't like the real Money Monster the friends we made along the way? I'm trying to find an image of Muzzy for you all, because this is very Muzzy-esque.
Oh, I've had to look up pictures of Muzzy for this podcast.
Muzzy was like Duolingo, right?
Yep. Yeah.
For French Shreks. If French Shreks needed a Duolingo owl, they have one in Muzzy.
Wait, 4 French Shreks?
Yeah, Shreks who are French, who need to learn other languages. They have Muzzy, who I have pulled images of for preview episodes of this very podcast, because Cat loves Muzzy.
I don't love Muzzy. I have a long history with Muzzy. It's a deep part of my lore, but I certainly don't love it, and I don't want that to be put out there. I don't love Muzzy. Muzzy ruined my childhood sporadically, every few months.
Much like the Money
weekends.
Monster ruined many childhoods by bankrupting families in the Ibis stock debacle.
Stabacle.
Listen, sometimes in finance it's a stabacle. It happens. You can't control it. It's a living organism, and it's gonna happen. The other moment in the course of this movie that really like took me aback and made me like think Money Monster was pretty all right is when the cops find Jack O'Connell's pregnant girlfriend, like trying to find like, who is this guy? What's his story? And they bring her in to the police van. And then like in any other hostage movie, like in Dog Day Afternoon, it's like, oh, it's time for the emotional conversation with like the person on the outside of this. The crime is nominally being done for. And the pregnant girlfriend gets on like not live national TV via police satellite and says like, you should fucking kill yourself, you piece of shit. Like,
Yeah, you're not exaggerating.
Slagging.
That is what she says.
Starts slagging her baby daddy like on, and I was like, Money Monster, you're all right. That was crazy.
Of course you'd fucking do this. You would do some fucking loser shit like this. You lost all our fucking money and you're gonna blame them and not yourself, you fucking idiot.
I needed that fucking money for Dunkin' Donuts, so you blew it all away.
My Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, my Brooklyn Dunkin' Donuts.
My Brooklyn Dunkin'. Hey, we have lots of Dunkin' Donuts here.
I believe you.
But it was definitely her Boston ass Brooklyn accent.
So is that what the cops were trying to do? They were like, certainly she's going to get through to him.
Certainly she's going to go on there and be like, baby, I love you. Like, please put down the gun. Please come
Frank
home.
Sabatka is a bad hostage negotiator. Like from The Wire and True Blood. I don't know that actor's name, but
Yeah.
he's a classic guy to be there and just yelling and wrong. And Giancarlo Esposito doesn't have better ideas. He's like, yeah, let's shoot George Clooney. Also, Giancarlo Esposito is putting a lot of mustard on this movie.
On this nothing character. I'm truly
when
just
he
like,
enters
there's
on
nothing
screen,
to play.
He's moving like his whole body, and he's like, go this way. He was like so excited. Probably everyone's excited to work with Jodie Foster because you're probably assuming you're like, okay, George Clooney, Julia Roberts. This movie is going to be fucking huge.
Yeah.
Everyone's certainly going to see this movie or at least be aware that it is a movie.
On paper, this is money. Like, you're making your, like, Occupy Wall Street financial, hostage thriller. Like, on paper, this sounds, like, really enticing. This sounds really interesting.
But I listened to I listened to your Normal Heart episode, and at the end, Kat said, I'm not familiar with that work. And I think that would be everyone. And I also think that a question I wanted to field is that Julia Roberts and George Clooney have been positioned together many times. How many times have people liked it?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Oh no.
And then the internet created a dramatic pause.
The Money Monster is trying to shut
Harry
down.
I
froze.
You did, yeah.
It is very timely. I thought the Money Monster got you. I thought it ate you.
No.
I just said that I think really only Ocean's 11 is accepted and beloved for when they've been on screen together, because Intolerable Cruelty, people.
I don't know that one.
That's Catherine Zeta-Jones.
No, isn't it?
No, it's Catherine. It's CZJ.
CZJ.
It's CZJ from Ocean's 12.
I found watching Muzzy to be an intolerable cruelty. My whole childhood.
Very good. But yes, Intolerable Cruelty, one of the least beloved Coen brothers efforts.
Oh, you are 100%. I don't know why I was misremembering. Maybe I was just thinking of this in my head.
Okay,
it makes sense that it would have.
I said Russell Brand instead of Mark Ruffalo last time, and I can't stop thinking about it.
It happens to all of us. Okay, so yeah, Ocean's 11, like that's a 5-star picture. That's a ballpark classic.
Sure, but then Ocean's 12 which goes heavy on the
many
Julia.
Defenders, myself included.
I
but
think that
yes,
movie's
at
great.
the time,
I think Ocean's 12 is fantastic.
But it was not beloved when it came out.
By
No,
any
and they
stretch of
certainly didn't like the thing that I find to be the most delightful
the
part
best
of that
part of the
movie.
The best
Yes,
part of the movie.
but
the best part of a
hated that.
perfect movie.
And that goes heavy on the Julia, and people did not like that. And then I know people did not take the ticket to paradise.
I took the ticket to paradise.
Has this podcast yet taken the ticket to paradise?
No, we have not. I think that movie is a perfectly fine 3 out of 5. Watch it on an airplane. I think that movie is.
Oh, I bet that
exactly
movie rips on an airplane.
Exactly what it says on the tin. They're like, it's a divorced couple, George and Julia, and they're probably going to get together. And you're like, yeah, I bet that is going to happen, and I would like to see that. Thank you. I will use my AMC Stubs A-list, so I'm not specifically spending money on Ticket to Paradise. And I had a nice time, and I do not dread rewatching it for this podcast. Again, we're talking like a brisk runtime. It's breezy, and that movie was a huge hit. That was like $100 million movie. Like that, people loved Ticket to Paradise.
It's weird because
People
it
loved it.
It made a bunch of money, but then everyone was like, I don't know, it's not really good, is it? And it's like,
All
well, I don't
those-
know. You all went to see it, didn't you?
All those fucking hoity-toity pinky out, film Twitter aficionado. They don't get it.
This movie made $96 million worldwide.
Which is more than I thought, because no one has ever heard of it or spoken of it.
Yeah. No one really, I think,
but-
walked away upset about this movie.
No, it doesn't
maybe
look
Jack
like that.
O'Connell. I don't know that. I don't think this helped Jack O'Connell very much.
No.
I thought I thought from the beginning vibe, I thought this was gonna be like a Sorkin-esque situation,
like a broadcast news or something like that.
Yeah, just and based how it was framed, because the opening is so strong. I was like, oh, but then
when he's dancing, when he's putting on the boxer's uniform and he's dancing, and the opening is so strong.
And just the dynamic back and forth and like the and the chemistry, it's all there. And then once it was like, oh, this is a hostage movie, I was like, okay. What was that? What was that? Ben Affleck. It did really, really well. But what was the hostage movie that he did and he like directed it?
Argo.
It was like
fun movie.
I was like, oh, this is kind of like a really small Argo.
Yeah, it is. It's weird because the movie does feel so small, and then it does the ending. At least the walk into the streets of New York. That's like this big, massive sequence. And like I was watching the behind the scenes videos for that, and like they had like hundreds of people for that, and then they also had those Johannesburg like riots in this film. They shot that somewhere, and so it's weird how small most of the movie is and so confined. And like Julia Roberts, like how long do you think she had to spend on this?
That's such an excellent question, because she is almost exclusively in the little booth,
and I think
yeah,
and then she like peeks out.
Well, that's the thing is, when I was watching the BTS, there's a lot of times where she's actually feeding George Clooney the lines. Like he actually has real screens up and like the real earpiece in.
Wow.
And I think that they were trying to do like when he's talking to the lady on the screen, they had her really there, and then they just had her a green screen behind her. But George Clooney was really talking to her in real time, and she was really on that TV that he was looking at, and all those touchscreens and stuff. That none of that's post. That's all done like in the moment.
I love that
in camera.
Yeah, so I guess maybe like there's definitely a version of shooting Julia's portions of this movie where she spends like a week.
Yeah, but if that's what I thought at first.
But if she's doing the other sides of the conversation, which is like big of her, she didn't have to do that.
She's Julia Roberts.
It's just because it's George and it's
she loves George. They love each other.
And like obviously everyone is going to be excited about the Jodie Foster of this. The thing that blew my mind about one of those little clips I sent you, which is really funny, the Julia Roberts clip that I sent you.
Yeah.
The title of the video is Behind the Scenes with Julia Roberts, and all she says is like, every second counts. And
saw that.
Every second's indispensable. And then it's just
videos
other
are
people
like
talking.
2 minutes long.
And then because she doesn't need to do press, right? Like she's just like it's a very Notting Hill horse and hound in and out situation.
It's a real horse and hound situation. Absolutely.
I liked looking at the writers of this because once I realized that it wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be in terms of writing quality, and that it was more chemistry at the beginning than writing, I was like, who are the writers? And one of the writers helped write We Are Marshall with Matthew McConaughey and Dear John.
Wow.
Two Channing Tatum projects, which was interesting. And then the other one, the main one whose story it was to, wrote Rush Hour, Snow Dogs, National Treasure. Yeah.
So these are just kind of just like working screenwriters. These are just people who just are putting out scripts, nothing too spectacular, but like
National Treasure
some name on some films that get made. Yes, I'm so sorry. National Treasure does rock.
And to go from National Treasure to this, honestly, is kind of like a letdown. Like, I feel like maybe he thought this was going to be like a National Treasure for adults, and it just didn't hit the same way.
Oh, what I was going to say that blew my mind from that video was that the producer said, from the time that we bought this script 6 years ago, we knew we wanted George.
Okay.
And it's like, this thing took 6 years to come together?
That's Hollywood, baby.
Well, they wanted
George.
I know. But they bought something that was so timely when they bought it. So this movie comes out in 2016. So they're buying it in like 2010. And the recession, the crash, starts in 2008, right? So like when they're buying this script, this is like a hot button issue. This was before Bane took over Wall Street in The Dark Knight Rises. This is before we knew about The Big Short. You know, like this is like,
I also thought that it was going to be about the recession based on like just also how it was opening, because I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know anything about it.
I bet that maybe originally it was. If they bought it years prior, I bet that maybe it was like that. It was more directly tied to that, and that's why this guy was in economic disparity to begin with. Like, and then the Ops thing like really fucked him.
Yeah, it's a more powerful story that way. But I think by the time they were like, well, we got Clooney on schedule, let's just make it.
And I think they looped it into Occupy Wall Street then, because then it was like, okay, like what are we, like we're further away from the recession, but we're closer to that. So let's tie it to that. Gotcha. And I wonder if like one of those writers wrote the initial script and then like National Treasure guy came in after to like occupy it.
Tying it, make it a little, you know, a little Hollywood zip, a little of that National Treasure zang.
Yeah, well, and then
it was his story.
What tries...
National Treasure, it was his story.
Okay, no, it was his story. Okay, so then the other guy maybe is who came in after.
The Dear John guy, the We Are Marshall guy.
That makes sense.
Adding
that makes sense on how the movie ends
We
up.
Are Marshall, you know, heart and soul. You know what I mean?
So how does Jodie Foster? I couldn't find like a clear, other than just like a deadline tweet. I couldn't find like how Jodie Foster comes to want to do this.
I just love this ongoing universe of Jodie Foster because I have this deep desire to do. Even though I have, obviously, my fears about Ryan Murphy and what he's doing, I have a desire to do my own American Crime Story, and I want to do the Charles Hinckley and Jodie Foster moment. And I know that situation really shaped, like, she doesn't do public stuff anymore because of it, and she just, like, selectively chooses to direct things. And so whenever I see a Jodie Foster thing, I always think it's like informed from sort of like that fear or paranoia or something that she's trying to say. But what was that other movie that she was in that also I feel like didn't do well, but there were a lot of trailers for, and it like took place in like a hotel or something?
Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, but did you guys see that? Know anything about it?
In that movie?
Jodie Foster is the central figure on the poster of Hotel Artemis. I didn't see it.
That's the Charlie Day, Dave Bautista?
Yeah, it seemed interesting. It seemed like something that I would put on at like
midnight, you know, and just kind of like relax to.
It seemed like we have John Wick at home to me.
100%. But like Jodie Foster, Sophia Boutella, Dave Bautista, Sterling K. Brown, Jeff Goldblum, Brian Tyree Henry, Jenny Slate, Zachary Quinto, Charlie Day.
This cast has only gotten better with time.
Father John Misty.
There's multiple Oscar nominees in that cast now.
Exactly. And it's like written and directed by Drew Pearce, who like is a perfectly fine, you know, serviceable, you know, co-writer of Iron Man 3, like one of those guys. The Fall Guy most recently worked heavily on that. I really enjoyed that movie as well. I gotta visit the Hotel Artemis at some point, but I haven't done that. But yeah, Jodie,
gotta check in.
I gotta check in, and when you know what they say, when you check in, you never check out. But yeah, Jodie's kind of in like a weird, I mean, obviously she's been a working actor since she was a child in the early 70s, right? So like she has done the thing, and if she's good with her money, she never has to work ever again. But it's very interesting to me, like, what she has chosen to do, especially since, like, the 2010s, you know? Like, she directs The Beaver, starring Mel Gibson.
That's her movie previous to this one, right?
That's her. This is like her fourth movie or something like that as a director. But she'll do like, she did Carnage, the adaptation of the play God of Carnage, Elysium, you know. But she has only done like 4 things since Elysium in 2013. She does the Hotel Artemis. She checks in.
She's America's favorite True Detective.
Yeah, of course. She was in True Detective season 4. She was Naiad, lest we forget. Well, she was in Naiad.
She should have been nominated for Naiad over Annette Bening. But that's a whole different conversation.
Would it shock you to know that I did not watch Naiad?
Honestly, Naiad's kind of a hoot.
I bet it's fine. I bet it, better or worse than Money Monster, would you say?
Oh, it's better. It's better. It's better than Money Monster.
Oh wow. Okay. Shit. I gotta check out
I mean, you're warmer on Money Monster than I am, but I think that it's better than Money Monster.
Wow, a ringing endorsement of Naiad, better than Money Monster.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jodie.
Absolutely. Put that right on the poster. Better than Money Monster.
The Maratushian, the Benedict Cumberbatch Oscar film.
This is entirely possibly the first time I'm hearing of the Mauritanian. Yeah, definitely. I've never heard of that. I'm definitely learning about the Mauritanian for the first time.
Okay, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was not an Oscar nominee. I think that it was a hopeful.
That's a real. This had Oscar buzz kind of film, the Mauritanian. Wow. So that's all very interesting. But Jodie's not doing a ton of things. So when she chooses to do something, especially when she chooses to direct it, you're like, I guess I have to sit up. Like, what is this? What are we choosing to do here? Okay, we're doing one episode of Black Mirror. Like, what are Jodie is kind of playing with her options here.
And so do you think that she just brought this you think this just like lands on her desk?
I think so.
And then she just does this as a job, and then it becomes this A-list thing?
I think so. I think, she's Jodie Foster. If Jodie Foster calls you and be in my movie, there's a fairly decent chance that happens. Or if Jodie's seeking funding, it's like, well, let me get a couple of Hollywood A-listers to sign on to my little Money Monster picture. And I think this is a topic that I've had kind of tucked in my back pocket since I watched Money Monster. But this movie has a terminal case of celeb brain, which is like a celeb, someone who's been rich for decades, reads this script after the Wall Street crash of '08 and goes this is a profound work that people need to see.
Yes.
This is what
the regular folks are clamoring for, and I will be a champion of the little person by making
and you can tell,
Money Monster.
You can tell by the cutaways to the people watching on TV in bars and the DMV and everything.
Yeah, where people watch Jim Cramer type shows together as a
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the way that they're responding to things, that's the director choice to be these are the regular people, and this is casting of regular people, and these are regular people and how they would respond emotionally to this situation.
That's what my initial Letterboxd review was. Just I feel offended because of that exactly, where I was there's some things where when something panders exactly to the way that you feel, and it in a way that it's, for me, I'm always just oh man, this is I guess, but shut up. This is really, you're making me upset, and I agree with what you're trying to say.
This is kind of the movie equivalent of when Dr. Oz was pretending to shop for groceries in that campaign video. And he's when I'm buying regular groceries, crudité for a party. Or last night when I was at Forbidden Door, the AEW New Japan pay-per-view, there were these really loud people next to me who were being so annoying, even though they were yelling about politics that I fundamentally agree with. They were really, but they just would not shut the fuck up about it. And I'm I agree with you. Please stop yelling.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about Money Monster.
Stop yelling at me. I agree. I agreed a long time ago.
No one is on the other side of this issue.
Yes. Nobody thinks that Dominic Wests are good. But then at the end of this movie, they're don't worry. There's justice. Justice has been done. He's a meme now.
It's so good, but when Dominic West becomes a meme.
He becomes a meme. That in that moment, a man died. The moment that he's a meme is when he throws the detonator, which was when Jack O'Connell was shot. And then people on the internet are just gleefully oh, that was kind of funny though. If you ignore the human death in this scene, in this viral clip, it is kind of funny the way the CEO reacted to the human death he was about to witness.
That is kind of crazy about all the cutaways to people watching the show as well. I'm I know that no one's a great fan of the Money Monster, George Clooney, but that every single person we cut to is fuck him, kill him. It's so crazy.
Because it's almost like Black Mirror, but then it seems to have no commentary on it. But then that's what, when I sent you the clip and I said there's something I really want to dig into that Jodie said, Jodie, in talking about it, She goes, you know, the character of what's his name, Gates, some Lee Gates.
Yeah,
whatever.
That sounds right.
But she's like, you know, the character of Lee Gates in some ways is a metaphor for what it is to be an actor. And I was like, is it? So then when I rewatched the movie today, I was like, is this what Jodie Foster feels being an actor is like? And then it made the part when George Clooney reaches out and is like, feel my energy, embrace me as a human being. What is my life worth to you? And they're like, absolutely fucking nothing. I'm like, is this what Jodie Foster thinks about? Like, acting?
Because
she thinks
the John Hinckley Jr. situation. Yeah, it really colored the whole. I mean, that's when we're talking about actor brain, that's what I'm talking about. Like, being an actor is really like when you got that unexpected flat tire and you can't make rent because you had to buy new tires. That reminds me of acting.
That's a pretty good Jodie. You're doing a good Jodie.
Reminds me of acting.
Yeah, so like, what about him in this movie is what it is to be an actor?
I don't know.
She was like, you know, that she was like what it is to perform and then have your own feelings too, and it's like, what? So speaking of directing, Julia Roberts, she just becomes Crisis Mommy, but then also continues to direct Money Monster as if it's like normal Money Monster.
That's how I knew we were in for a treat. When she's like, there is an active hostage situation on my live show, and then she's like, cut to camera 2, camera 3. Like,
yeah, and she's like having him move in, and then she's like, this guy wants to be on camera. He's got to be well lit. Like, we got to hit his angles.
Frankly, incredible. I just like, that's when I was like, Money Monster's good. There's nothing else they could do for the rest of this movie. When she's like, when the hostage situation starts happening, when her friend George Clooney is like, you know, has a bomb strapped to his chest, and she's like, we're making fucking live TV here. You know, we got to get all the angles going.
Yeah, when Jack O'Connell's like, pull up the clip from when he says it, and then he smacks George Clooney's like buzzer button as he like walks past it. George Clooney gets caught in 4K, like saying that it's safer than a savings account. But Jack O'Connell becomes the Money Monster for a second, and he's like, zip. He's getting the sound effects and shit.
It's really good. This movie's good.
I loved the Union crew representation. They did a really fun take on the realistic, especially the interview of the Union guy at the end being like, I'm just doing
my job, you know.
Doing my job. I had to do my job. There was a gun.
I love that actor too, Lenny
held at gunpoint.
Just like, he's been in a million things, just as like small working class people like that, and I love that guy. And he's like, hey, you know, I'm doing my job. I point the camera over here. It's you know, what are you gonna do? Oh my God, what a picture.
We haven't mentioned one of the most important running plot threads in the movie and I didn't remember it until I rewatched it today, so I was so happy I rewatched it. The dick cream.
Yep. I was just thinking about that, and I didn't know how to really kind of bring it up, or like what I think if we were going to talk about the humor of the movie, I was to be like, and that was a thing, and that came back around in an unexpected way, and that's when you could tell that this was written by a man, but Jodie Foster decided to keep it in because it's completely unnecessary to any of the plot, and it could have been anything else.
And then while they're having sex, so this guy has this dick cream that is like this new product, and George Clooney tells him to put it on, and then he says from 0 to 60 within a minute, and then George Clooney says put it away, and then get to work, and then the guy's like put it away, and then he just gets hung up on, and then he doesn't realize across the hostage situation is happening, and he is mid-coitus, and while they're having sex, they are talking about the stock for the dick cream. Like, she's having sex, and she's like, what is this going for right now? And he's like, $4.25. And she's like, oh my God, that's so low. We all need to buy. And it's like, they are money monsters.
Yeah. They're having sex.
They are the money monster. Ooh. It's the beast with two backs.
Absolutely. They're the money monsters. Yeah, they're having sex in, like, the server room where Kat generates their JPEGs.
You know, it's like
they're sex where Mr. Robot works.
Where Mr. Robot works, and then like there are two people having sex in that room, and then we cut to like Giancarlo Esposito and the cops outside, and they're like, I thought you said you got everyone out. And he's like, I guess I didn't find these two people having sex in the computer room.
Giancarlo Esposito like does like a face palm and like rolls his eyes. And it's like, oh, jeez.
Okay, well, we're talking about how many days somebody worked on this project. Giancarlo, 3?
I think that's generous.
Well, he was outside. He was in the big room, then he was in the little room.
Yeah,
he was outside.
A couple location moves,
Yeah.
He was in studio at, Kaufman Astoria, or he was outside exterior Wall Street. Yeah, you're right. So at least minimum 3.
I don't
just
know why.
Locations alone.
I don't know why I care. I don't know why I care what the payroll of every not Julia or George Clooney. I don't know why I'm like, and Julia. I don't know why I'm like, I think after just kind of seeing things through a Mother's Day lens, being like, wow, she got $1 million a day for like 2-3 day shoot. That's so cool.
Another movie whose ass Money Monster just kicks, just stomps all over is Gary Marshall's Mother's Day. I mean, Money Monster fucking cleans house over fucking Mother's Day. And we haven't even really talked about her in the movie much, but like, Julia's holding it down in this movie.
That's why I thought it was funny to suggest to you for this podcast, because I like looking at this movie as a Julia Roberts movie.
As the Julia Roberts picture. I think she, for all this movie's faults, I don't think she's one of them. I think she's rock solid, doing exactly what this Patty character needs to do. Just like the solid bedrock foundation of this hostage situation, keeping cool, making sure we're cutting between camera setups, making sure all the tech cues are running. Like the hero of techies everywhere, the hero of sound booth personnel all over is Julia Roberts in Money Monster.
Yeah, it's a very I always love referencing the show Unreal, but like the producers in Unreal, the Liz Lemon, it's like a very specific type in that like when it's done well, you don't even think about it. You're just like enjoying watching it, but it's a specific kind of like woman working behind the camera that is represented in media. Where you're like
Holly Hunter in broadcast news, like
very much that. Even with like where she's feeding him stuff into his ear as he's saying it. It's literally like beat for beat the way that broadcast news works. Yeah. But it's like literally, maybe that's part of what Jodie got excited about, of like, oh, it's broadcast news, but
I love
a hostage situation.
That sounds pretty good. If we wanted to, I know William Hurt's no longer with us, but if Albert and Holly wanted to take another crack at Broadcast News 2, and they wanted to just do Money Monster, I think that's a pretty okay movie.
Julia Roberts' dry humor is also just very fun to watch when she plays like this kind of like in Normal Heart, there was some of this too. Like just the very like straightforward, no bullshit. And then unfortunately also often represented as like eating alone in your PJs because you're a serious woman and that is the life of a woman in their 40s.
That's not the tone of that exchange though to me. Okay, so what this is in the film Money Monster, George Clooney's character, the Money Monster, is like beside himself that Julia Roberts like eats dinner alone in front of the TV and is happy doing that. She's pitching it to him as a lifestyle. And he's like, I haven't eaten alone in 20 years, which is so crazy. That's so crazy.
Well, that's also that's a regurgitated like C-suite for my fake evil job. That's like kind of a mindset that
you work for the Money Monster, don't you? You can say it.
Well, I write for the Money Monster.
You write copy for the Money Monster.
I write the LinkedIn posts for the Money Monster.
The most benign form of evil.
Exactly. It's like I'm not really harming anybody because I'm just kind of talking into a vacuum. But that's kind of like a thought leadership type thought is like never eat your lunch alone if you're an executive. Like it's always an opportunity for networking and connection and making more money. Like never, like always schmooze your clients over dinner. Always have lunch with your mentor. Always, or like spread thought leadership through your, like never waste a moment either not like eating on the way to the gym or having it be a network opportunity. It's very much like a mindset in wealth management and private equity.
I think that's represented in the movie because that he has the thing at the beginning that I actually like a lot, and Clooney plays super well, where he's like, that guy wants to have dinner. Like, the dinner gets rescheduled, and he's like, oh, good. I hate having dinner with that guy. Like, I'd rather have dinner with my in-laws than have dinner with that guy. And she's like, that's the 7th time. Do you want to just put it off forever? And he's like, hold on, he's rescheduled with me 7 times? I'm going to call him. I want to have dinner with him. And
I thought that was going to be a character, too. The way it was set up.
Like the head of the network, that it was going to be a guy. Right. And then I even thought when it cuts to Mr. Business that's in like all these movies. When it cuts to him and he's the head of like it, I don't know. He works for IBIS in some capacity. I can't really tell. He's above the woman, but under Dominic West. But she
doesn't report to him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But when I saw him, I was like, oh, this is the guy from the phone call. It's got to be. This is George Clooney's boss, because he's like, I can't believe this is on the TV right now. But then he starts calling for for McNulty to come off his plane. And then I also really just felt like McNulty was going to be a bigger deal when he shows up.
Yep.
Because the whole time it's like, oh, I can't, like, when he shows up, like, it's going to be, he's stuck on the plane. He's definitely dodging them on purpose. And then he lands and he's just like, what's up, babe? Like, oh yeah, I don't know what's going on. Shit's crazy.
He's just he's the Christopher Plummer in Inside Man. I don't know if either of you are familiar with Spike Lee's Inside Man, sure. But he's doing essentially
that's a better movie than Money Monster,
starring Jodie Foster. It all comes together. Oh, kind of thinking that Jodie wanted to make her own Inside Man when she got the script for Money Monster.
I'm telling you, if what I said was true, and it was like George Clooney raises the stock via goodwill, and then like they get out of the hostage situation, and then he calls Dominic West, and he's like, "We did it." Then that's her Inside Man. That's her Inside Man. That's an entirely different movie.
And sadly, Inside Man, a much better movie. Just really, Spike Lee did a good job on that one.
I had legal questions that I just kind of tried to like repress every time it came up by like the second and third act of this, because I was like, okay, what's the legality of her like knowing that there's a guy holding gun and then being like, and now you're gonna do an interview in the hostage situation and like bringing him into the fold. There were just like many things like that where I was like, I don't know if the legality of this, or like the sending the crew along to do the, like, there were just so many things where I was like,
yeah,
I think this would break.
They're in like a mausoleum. Where are they? Where do they end up? Like, where the fuck are they?
I think once they like left like one, yeah, exactly.
Aren't they in like IBIS headquarters? Isn't that where they are? They're at like downstairs
of
like
IBIS.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're at like some location from like Blade, and like
they went to the blood rave from Blade.
But then they have a like touchscreen TV for George Clooney to be like, here, look at the stock, and they have like graphs made for him to reference to. And
Julia
they're still getting great coverage. Lenny's still getting really good coverage the entire time.
Absolutely. He's zeroed in. He's doing his fucking job. Because she only sent home non-essential personnel. It was a closed set.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And then Jack O'Connell also shoots
a nude shoot.
Exactly. The modesty sock of a hostage situation. It's just like, yeah, we have the cinematographer, the sound guy. Like, that's it. Those are the only people on set.
And,
I was just referencing that Jack O'Connell shoots that one guy that's on the street because the guy gets like vaguely aggressive, and then he just like
He's fucked after that moment. That's the moment where you know that like he's gonna have to kill himself. You're like, if he wasn't gonna go to prison forever, he has like attempted manslaughter. Like that's the moment where you're like, this only ends in him killing himself.
Right, because by that time he's like won George Clooney over. Like this is George Clooney
Clay.
is like on this guy's side at this point.
The Clay bomb, the bomb that is Clay. Yeah,
which I was like, yeah, that's definitely like. There's no way this guy knows how to make a bomb. Even his girlfriend says that. It was like, you're making fucking bombs now.
That's great foreshadowing. That's what that is.
Right, because this guy doesn't seem smart enough.
But what I wondered about that is would that change the illegalness of the situation? Like, do you get off if the bomb's not real? Like,
great question.
Are the charges?
The gun is real.
Is coercion? Yeah, the gun is real, and
George Clooney gives him back the gun at one point. We didn't talk about that. The George Clooney picks up the gun off the thing and is like, "What am I gonna do? Shoot
Accomplice,
but also self. Opposite of self.
Well, no, Clooney helps him take Dominic West hostage. Like Clooney,
Little bit.
like,
Right.
Clooney puts himself
Right.
in the position to go down to march
Right.
down walks. Oh, and then while they're doing the perp walk down whatever street that is in New York, there's a guy that leans over the railing and just goes, "Occupy Wall Street."
Yeah, as if we didn't get
Oh.
it. As if it was not
I
clear
didn't.
up until this point.
I wasn't paying attention to any of that.
Yeah, but that is where when the guy gets shot. I thought that was kind of like a funny runner. The guy who looks like Pete Campbell throughout the movie, and every scene he's in, he's like sweating, running up to a place, and he hands them something, and they're like, "Cool, now you need to go over here." And he's like, "That's 20 blocks," and they're like, "You have 30 minutes. Let's get it running."
I liked. Wait, so does this movie balance humor and hostage and suicide by cop well?
Yeah.
I think well enough. For
I think
like
otherwise
again,
I would
like
hate it. Otherwise, I'd hate this movie. Because
Yeah.
If there were if George Clooney wasn't doing what's in my background.
absolutely.
Yes.
That it was so necessary for this movie to have
I agree.
little bits. Otherwise,
I think movies like
I'd
this,
turn it
like
off.
hostage movies like this, like Dog Day Afternoon, as tense as it is also very funny. Inside Man is very funny. It's all like, it's mostly like, you know, kind of behavioral conversational stuff. It's usually not like this. Money Monster has a lot of
Jokes in it.
Yeah, like the
weirdly.
boner thing is like broad humor. That's the thing that's weird about it. Because Inside Man and Dog Day Afternoon, you're talking about like Clive Owen's funny, Al Pacino's funny.
Yeah.
Jack O'Connell's not fun. Jack
He's
O'Connell's
not.
a very dour character. What's funny is like the interns with boners and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I think this blend of humor and
Clooney's really
pathos
funny.
is maybe like a 3-star,
Clooney-
whereas we are discussing 4 to 5-star movies.
It's
you
true.
know?
It's true. Clooney is funny. Clooney, like I said, Clooney's well suited for this, and I get why they said, when we wrote it 6 years ago, we wanted George Clooney, and it's like maybe that's why it was sitting around. I don't know if I was trying to see, is he a producer on this movie? Did he help produce this? Because if he is, maybe he brought on Jodie. Maybe he was like waiting for the right person to direct it. Because he doesn't do much. Like he's not in movies very often.
No, he's very selective. Yeah, it is produced by George Clooney, and that could mean there's also over a dozen other producers, so you never know exactly how much someone is involved in that. But
The Wikipedia for this film is, if you can believe it, kind of sparse. What? if you can believe that there's not like an oral
Details are
history published
scant.
about it.
What?
yeah, this again, I think we're like the film version of August Osage County. We're almost looking at a situation where this podcast is the most in-depth anyone has ever gone about a film. Do you know what I think it's possible we are creating like the definitive text on Money Monster in real time.
This
Where
is
the, like,
It
wiki.
really might be. It certainly is under discussed.
This
We're
is
the fan wiki.
Yes, we are keeping we're going to go to moneymonster.wikia. I'm starting
all my
page
favorite
for the boner
characters.
guy, a page for the guy that's 20 minutes away.
Avery Goodlow, CFO, Kyle Budwell, Walt Canby, Patty
meme.
Fenn.
The meme
Greta
that's
Lee's
created.
Amy, the iconic Amy, as
The
brought to life
iconic
by
Amy.
Greta Lee, by Golden Globe nominee Greta Lee.
Ah, incredible. Yeah, that was a great role. We needed more, to be honest. Oh, we never talked about the guy smoking the bong in Reykjavik or the guy in Seoul.
Yeah, all my favorite
all the
hackers.
fucking the FPS, like the gamer guys.
Who
I
was
love the gamer guys with their
One thing I-
stupid fucking voice
one thing I
changers.
love about
Oh yeah, that voice changers.
One thing I love about Reykjavik is it's always depicted the same way in all media. It's like there's no windows. There's like some like weird light. And
the middle of the night always, or
It's
like
the
during
middle-
that period where it's dark for 6 months.
It's just they're communicating like light works different here, and people are accustomed to it and doing
It
what
is-
they.
To be fair, time zones wise, it would be nighttime. You know what I mean? Like time zones wise, it would be nighttime in Reykjavik.
Well,
at
yeah,
this
but it's
point.
not just the nighttime. It's like it's always like the
Beyond
set
darkness.
design of Reykjavik is always like there aren't really windows.
Yeah, they don't need lights here. Yeah,
Yeah.
They don't fuck with daylight.
No, they're the only light they have is playing Just Cause 3 on the PS.
So can you remind me what I liked Algo Guy? I was just kind of like, uh-oh.
Soul Algo guy.
I don't want him to be fucked.
That's what they kept calling him, right? The quantational That's what they refer to him as. She's like, they keep going, give me the quant. Who's your quant?
It's like the in Oceans. It's like the what is it? The glitch. What's the thing? The
kick.
The kick. Yeah, it was like that.
The thing that Basher does?
Yeah.
What does I loved that thing. I loved it. It was like green slime, and you were just
it was a crazy tube. Oh man, Ocean's 11 is so good. It's
stuff.
this huge coil in a bunch of like green water. It's like, what is this?
Like,
There's only
this is
3
science.
of them.
And this is science, and I love it. Okay, what were the Reykjavik guys doing? What was their thing? I couldn't figure out in the context of
recall
numbers.
Monster.
I just watched this movie an hour ago.
They were.
I don't know what they're.
I know they represent sort of this international chain of events that led to the 800 million, but I don't quite, similarly to the green slime and being like, how does this work and why is this important? It was the part of the film where, like, that's in a way, the climax of movies like this, of thrillers like this, and when it kind of reaches this point, and I'm like, I don't actually really know, like, what the fake science of this is trying to tell me, then I kind of like fall away.
So the guy from Korea, our friend from Korea, who developed the algorithm,
the algo,
he is the person who reveals the information that, now all he did was develop the algo. He had no hands-on experience after that. He develops the algo, and he says that the algo can't have shorted, $1 billion overnight or whatever the stock loss is, because the algo is not programmed to do that. But
that part was clear.
But Irish woman, the COO, and Julia Roberts need evidence to bring against Walt Canby, played by McNulty from The Wire. So they need hackers. They need someone who can fucking get their gamer juice, hack into the system, and find the point where it was manually shut down.
Yeah, and that's what, because they're the ones that deliver the smoking gun that Walt Canby. They're the ones that deliver all the information about the South African mine. Like, they get that through hacking and hitting bongs.
Right.
But how does Julia get to the point of contacting the Icelandic hackers? Who knows them? Does somebody? They're like, we have hackers. Get the hackers on the phone.
Through some. Yeah,
the word hacker is used. They say like the hackers
because they are doing some hacking. They're doing some hacking. I don't remember.
They set up the hackers before during the sequence of like, everyone's watching TV and seeing this, and then one of them's like, oh shit, turn on the TV of whatever, it's happening. So it's in that like sort of like everyone across the world montage is figuring out the thing. I just couldn't figure out what their little hacking role was, because I want to know more.
Yeah, I don't remember how they fit into the dense and intricate web of Money Monster, but I
really think it's just they get called. I really think it's just that Julia Roberts is like, get our hackers.
Call some hackers that I know.
Yeah.
Money Monster's hackers are contract workers in Reykjavik, otherwise playing video games and doing bong rips. And I love that for Money Monster.
Money Monster. Apparently, one of them is named Jodie, and the other one is named Icelandic Guy.
Love that.
I like that one of them has a name, and then one of them is just like his nationality.
Screenwriters, here's a little extra something you can do for your actors. Just name every character. It doesn't really matter. Just give them a name. It looks better on a resume. It looks better.
I lose track, though. I lose track. I've been doing Girl 1 and Girl 2, and I've been doing first drafts for something recently.
Just like when you're, putting the final credits in, just like give them a name. Because Stacy looks better on a resume than Girl 2.
Yeah, and then you can tell your friends like what your character role is, and it's like, oh, maybe they'll cut it out or they'll cut it down, but like I have a name.
Exactly. I'm Stacy.
I just wanted to drop a bomb on you guys that you actually
is
have
it clay?
Yeah, no, it's fake. It's a clay bomb. That you have covered 2 now 3 George and Julia's, because George Clooney was a producer on August Osage County.
That's right. That's right.
Fuck, I
So-
hope we brought that up. Sorry, George.
Yeah, did you?
And we
must have
will
slighted him.
one day cover George Clooney's directorial debut, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, starring
Which Julia is in. Yep.
Thought you were
So-
gonna say teenage drama queen. I was so excited.
Yeah, we will one day cover Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
And people
That
didn't
was-
like Confessions of a Dangerous Mind either.
No, I don't think it's like a great film, but I do think it's an interesting one.
I really liked it initially when it came out, and I watched it very young, and I have since rewatched it a handful of times, and I think I like it less every time I watch it. So I've decided to leave it alone. I've decided to never go back.
I have watched it for the last time.
Hey, listeners, I know that you've been wondering and you've been keeping track of my physical media, and I just wanted to update you that I now also have Aaron Brockovich on VHS, so now I have 4 Julias. I have one from eBay, which was Satisfaction, the TV movie. No, it
That's
wasn't
right.
a TV movie. You clarified
No,
it wasn't
it was
a TV
it was a
movie.
theatrical film, just produced by CBS Films.
But with Justine Bates singing a bop, and opens. I think the music still opened this very podcast you're listening to. Right?
Yeah, we still bookend with 2 songs from the forgotten film Satisfaction.
So
That is
I've-
worth checking out if you can at all find a copy.
It's fun.
Of it.
It's a bop. And it's what you would expect out of sort of like a teen 80s. Like there's just like random suicide attempts, but it's for comedy, stuff like that. So it's Satisfaction, Pretty Woman, Hook, and Aaron Brockovich. And I also actually just got Silence of the Lambs. Shout out Jodie Foster.
Shout out Jodie.
I love Aaron Brockovich. It was a movie it was one of the first movies that I really
Never
defined.
saw.
For me, I watched it. When I recently rewatched it, I was like, what about this? When I was like 8 years old, was I like, this rules? Because I remember I would watch Aaron Brockovich over and over and over again. And I literally was like hooting and hollering, shooting my guns in the air.
I think that's
documents. Yes.
I think that's the he, they, and you. I think that's like
for sure.
I think that's the like flirty gender undertone is
That's
resonating.
how I know I'm non-binary. That
Yeah,
I love Aaron Brockovich
as an
at 10 years
8-year-old being like, I fucking love Aaron.
Love a
I
girl
love-
boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about physical media of Aaron Brockovich. This is my copy of Aaron Brock. Oh, hold on, my background. I might have to turn off my background to
But
do
only
this.
temporarily. It must come
Yeah,
back.
yeah. I
Luckily,
got
this
it.
is an
Hold on.
audio medium, and no one is disrupted. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, so it is
Oh, it's in a
Everyday
4-pack.
Heroes,
Everyday
4-pack,
heroes.
which includes Aaron Brockovich, Apollo 13, Backdraft, and Mark Wahlberg's Lone Survivor.
I love the feminists that did this. I love whoever was like, we gotta put a woman in there. We gotta
That's
do
just such a like. Well, these are 4 movies Paramount owns.
You know,
This was the cheapest copy of Aaron Brockovich on
I bet.
Amazon to buy. To buy Aaron Brockovich alone was like $22. To buy this was like $10. So I was like, you know what? I'll probably watch Backdraft.
I've heard it's pretty all right. It's Ron
Back-
Howard.
Backdraft is
There's
good.
2 Ron Howard
There's
movies.
two. There's 2
on that
Ronnies here,
collection.
and then who
Are
did Lone
you-
Survivor?
I want to
Are
say
you
Peter
in
Berg,
St.
I'm guessing.
Louis?
Gotta
What?
be Peter Berg. Yes, St. Louis.
Okay. Is V Stock still open?
Yeah, there's one at least.
That's where I would go
the
to-
remnants
Yeah,
of the
there's one in
Chesterfield
Mid
Mall.
Rivers Mall that I went to last
Oh,
year.
the Mid Rivers one's still kicking around.
Is-
The Mid
so
Rivers
check-
one is where I got the Criterion Collection edition of Michael Bay's Armageddon.
Oh,
including
dude,
Ben
that's a
Affleck
grail.
commentary.
That's a holy grail.
I
Is
got it for $4.
Did you say Chesterfield one is still open?
Yeah, Chesterfield one's still clinging around.
Oh my god, it's so fun to like if you want to like disassociate and feel weird. It's really fun to walk through that Chesterfield mall that's like everything is so abandoned
They're
except for
tearing it
the
down. They just
whole
closed
thing?
they just closed the Cheesecake Factory.
Did they
just
close
happened,
the movie theater because it was like
that's
a long
been closed. That's been they actually
Okay.
it's so something very odd. I just recently saw they're trying to sell the escalator from that movie theater. Like they're trying to
Oh
like sell
my
that
God.
off, like because the building's gonna be torn down, and I guess that there's good money in escalators, and they're just
Oh,
like
yeah.
trying to get rid of it.
Huh.
You know,
Um,
Money Monster's saying buy now, big
Buy
stock.
escalators.
Safer
I wish
than a
we had
bank
the sound
account.
effect.
Safer
It's
than
only
saving
going
account.
up. It's only going up
Escalators only appreciate in value.
because escalators
They only
go up.
escalate in value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
See what I was doing? It was sort of like a wordplay thing
yeah.
with
Like how
escalators.
like how stock go up.
Like stock goes up, but also escalators take you from point A to point B.
I don't know. That's kind of a thinker. I'll get it when I'm editing it, when I'm listening to it a second time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to catch that again.
I would call it a way homer, but I am currently home, so I have no car ride home to think about it.
TV's Kevin Lanigan. How was your visit to St. Louis?
The one that I did last year.
Aren't you doing one? I thought it was in June. Is there one coming up?
There's usually one. Well, Harry will have more to say about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I hope there's one in the first week of August. Is what I would hope.
Harry will have more to say about that later. Yeah, I did a little like fly-in cameo in May. My youngest brother got married, but I didn't really spend any time in St. Louis. That was a Warrenton trip. I usually spend a couple weeks in Missouri every year, but I just wasn't feeling it around the time of my brother's wedding. I was like, I'd rather be in New York I don't know, just for whatever reason. But
for some reason,
I'll be out in beautiful Missouri in August. Is such a beautiful.
I thought you and the illustrious Caroline Amos were both there while she was in Shakespeare. I thought you were going to somehow overlap and see it, but I must have miscalculated.
I had thought about doing that.
Okay.
What was she in? Shakespeare in the Park? Or?
Yeah, she had a big role. Big role.
In the one. What did they just do?
As You Like It. One of the leads of As You Like It. And I would have liked to have gone, but just budget and schedule wise, I just did not make that work, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm having like a weird year for St. Louis because I like to visit like 3 or 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. But it's been hard to. Also, Harry, do you have everyone you need for set for your whatever you're doing in August?
I mean, we probably could always use more.
Yeah,
we could always use more.
Everyone we need. I don't think I'll ever say yes to that question. When it comes to,
spoken like a true director. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I want Abby to go do something fun, and I'll do some light peer pressuring. Abby's my roommate from college who also did the film program with me at Webster. But right now they've been doing commercial, like too many hours a week doing commercial editing. But they're finally getting paid enough for it, and I don't. They worked on a feature with, now I'm forgetting his name, so the story's not relevant. Anyway, I want to come back to St. Louis. I like to go during like the summer or fall weather, but usually the people that I'm in touch with in St. Louis have been completely MIA this year, which has been weird. And it's like so affordable to like go just chill in St. Louis for a while.
Absolutely.
So
you're in California now, right?
Yeah, I'm in LA, which is like just as expensive as New York was. But I would drive from New York to St. Louis because I also had a car in New York for some of the years. So I would do like, I would stop in either Pittsburgh or Columbus, Ohio, and then I like at a motel or an Airbnb if I had money, and would do that trip pretty frequently. And flights aren't that expensive to get to St. Louis, but I did it in February, and like getting a rental car feels necessary when you're in St. Louis.
Yeah, this is a car city.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you can rely on rides with your friends if they're available, but it's just like it's a lot of logistics. But the food, I will say, in St. Louis is good, and I think about it a lot.
100%.
It's good, and like whatever. I know Kevin and I both live in cities that are famous for their good food, but that's also for like wealthy people. Like they're like the 4-star restaurants, are good, but like St. Louis has some bangers that's just like a normal priced meal, specifically Lana's Little Eats. I miss it and think about it all the time.
Well, there you go.
That's a plug for Lana's Little Eats, St. Louis, Missouri.
That's a free plug. That's a free. They're not a sponsor?
This is not a sponsored con.
Absolutely not. This is like that extended clip where we just talk about The Hill for a long time. This could be a very St. Louis heavy podcast at times.
No, and I think that's great.
Despite two people, you both not living in St. Louis.
But I did. Right. I lived there for 6 years, and I lived in Missouri for the previous 18 of those years. So
yeah, I was there for 20. 20-ish years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, when did you live in St. Louis? Because where were you? Because you went to college in Springfield, right?
I went to college at Webster University.
Oh, you did?
Webster.
Okay, I don't know why I thought you went to Missouri State.
Because I know a lot of people that went
And you worked
to college
there.
in Springfield.
And I worked at MSU. I worked at the Missouri Fine Arts Academy and on MSU's campus for a couple of years as well. So I've spent my fair share of time in Springfield, Missouri, let me tell you that much. But yes, I am from Warrenton, Missouri, which is like an hour west of St. Louis, and then I went
used
to
to
college
go
at Webster
get
Groves.
Christmas trees in Warrenton.
Oh, there you go. We had pumpkins and pines.
That's where I would go. Yes, pumpkins.
Oh yeah, pumpkins and pines.
That's so exciting. No one ever knows what the fuck I'm talking about. And there's
pumpkins
the
and
outlet
pines. They had a
mall.
great hot cocoa set up there.
Every year that there, do you know the outlet mall, the Warrenton outlet mall? Of course you do.
Do I know the Warrenton outlet mall?
So I would every year we would go to Pumpkins and Pines, and I would get 2 new pairs of shoes for the year because at the Nike outlet
At the
there,
Nike store, just right
yeah,
over
you
there.
could get like $120 pair of shoes for like $40, and
Absolutely.
I have big fucking hobbit feet. So I always struggled to get shoes, and they would have shoes like size 14s there in stock.
Okay, flex.
Every well, no, it's not a flex. It's hard to get shoes.
It's a problem. It's
A
very
disability.
you walk into a bowling alley and they say good fucking luck, pal.
Bowling alley or ice skates every time. Like going to like Steinberg, they're always just like, seriously? Okay, well, I'll see.
You're not just like trying to impress your date. You really have size 14 feet.
Yeah, that's. I'm so impressed by the size of my feet. My dad has size like 16, 17 feet, so he always
That's
like,
all
there was,
custom order. There's no
yeah,
way.
and he has flat feet. He's got weird mutant feet, so that's probably where my feet problems came from.
That'll do it. You know, because you really need like Michael Phelps found the only good Bigfoot job. You know, because like the man truly just has like 2 swimming flippers like on the end of his legs. It's just like he is designed by God to swim. And honestly, like, he can't run for shit. He'll be the first person to tell you that. It's very painful for him to run, but he's got perfect swimming feet.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And great lungs to smoke pot once at a party and get in a lot that for it. Remember?
Yeah. Olympians are just Olympians are not
halcyon
allowed.
day
Actually,
that was.
I don't even want to get into this because right now there's a whole thing with what a certain Olympian was allowed to do, and there's been Olympians that haven't been allowed to smoke pot. The Olympics don't seem like a fair and just place.
No. Yeah, I'm calling them out. Summer Olympics in Gay Paris. I think Olympians not only should be allowed to, must smoke pot. You have to do it on the way in. You can't be an Olympian, Kat. I'm sorry.
I can't be an Olympian unless I really threw everything out the window.
I would not recommend doing that. Throw away your Olympic dreams of shot put.
I actually in 5th grade, because you had the freedom as a 10-year-old to be delusional and adults enabled it. They'd be like, you could be president. And I was like, I already have 2 in my family. But I really wanted to like EGOT, but with also like EGOT. I wanted to have like an Olympic gold medal.
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Olympic gold medal, Tony.
Yeah, I really wanted. I don't know what sport I thought I could like master by then, because by the time you're 10 and you haven't chosen, you're way behind.
Yeah, you're shit out of luck for the Olympics. You got to choose at like 6. You got to be prepping.
Yeah, you gotta bid even 6. You're kind of late.
You're running behind.
Yeah, so I never really landed on. I think I was kind of leaning figure skating, but I didn't quite have the aptitude or drive.
I gotta say, I was worried that this would be more about Pokemon than it's been, and I feel relieved that, because I maybe it's just the episodes I listen to the episodes of the movies I've seen. That's how I do with movie podcasts. And unfortunately, I part of the reason I watched Money Monster in the first place is I'm doing this thing this year where I'm trying to watch 365 movies in the year. I got good progress so far. I got like 240 so far, so I have a good cushion.
When you're making the movie, you're gonna be.
I'm not gonna have any fucking time. So I'm trying to. Yes,
absolutely.
So I was like, all right, I have like a lot of Julia blind spots. Let's fill those in. And so of course, Money Monster went right to the top of the list. I just honestly though, I had never heard it existed, and I was like, this sounds good.
You were right.
The talent involved, but so with your show, I was like, I've listened to the episodes that I've of the movies I've seen.
Which ones?
And Mystic Pizza,
Okay.
Ocean's 11, August
Yep.
Osage County.
You've
And-
seen August Osage
All the
I
hits.
have, yeah, all the hits. And
August Osage County's all right. I don't know. It's all right. It is a funny third one. It is like, it's not Notting Hill. It's not.
Pretty Woman.
I haven't
Yes,
seen
Pretty
Okay, I've seen Pretty Woman, but I wanted to rewatch that in order to listen to the podcast. I want to have it fresh.
Sure.
But
Which I did not when we recorded the episode. I was doing some real recollecting about what I remember. Because I had watched it in like February before we had decided to do this podcast. And I was like, I don't really
close
want to
enough.
rewatch. I
Yeah.
remember Pretty Woman. I can remember it well enough. And I think I did. I think I did fine.
But Pokemon came up a lot.
It does.
And so
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I gotta maybe do some Pokemon homework.
No,
as
there's
well
no
as rewatch Your Money
research.
Monster.
There's no research.
No.
It's just what we kind of free associate. And then I overshare a lot about
That's very
my
true.
life. So
But
that's kind of,
Pokemon is an important part of Cats in My lore. We wrote an entire stage musical about Pokemon, so it's
We
just a
did.
very important part of our bond.
we did. And I saw this musical. It was so specific. I saw this musical this weekend called like I Love Sorority Rush, which is what you would expect it was about. And before I went to Webster, I went to USC for a year and I was a sorority girl. And the musical was about a person who comes out as non-binary after rushing sorority, and just kind of like the awkwardness of being trans-mask and still trying to be in those spaces. And then in an alternate dimension, like the hot girl version of them shows up and tries to kind of sabotage like their current life. And it was interesting and clunky, and there were things that were and weren't good about it. And it was weird because I was like, I never thought I would see a musical that was kind of so specific to my experience of being a sorority girl and then being non-binary and then figuring out what you do after that. And my friends and I saw it and we were like, I'm trying to be respectful, but there's such a slim chance that the creator of that musical is going to listen to this podcast.
You never know.
But we thought, well, maybe we could do our own musical for Hollywood Fringe Fest next year. And I was like, I got one ready to go because I have a friend who wants to compose. And I was like, but don't get our hopes up. Like, tell me when you're free, because we had so many composers who were
that we
students.
ran through on this Pokemon musical.
Yeah, who like held it captive for months saying that they were working on it. And then we're like, I'm getting too busy. And we got like a few bits and pieces there. But like, yeah, unfortunately for this to be made, one, it has to be made underground because it's so illegal.
Because it's illegal. Because it's a crime for us to do this.
Yeah.
Sinful, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And also intellectual property and Nintendo and it's not
But also
it's not
lust,
for,
gluttony, sloth.
it's not for
Classic
children.
sins.
Yeah. There's like anyway, but whoever is around to compose it, we would have to really trust you, but it's available and ready to go. And we did write a Poke musical.
We did write a Poke musical. I also saw a musical this past weekend.
Well, probably different because you're in New York, so the quality was probably.
It was called Cats.
Yep.
I saw a musical.
Oh, I saw that on your Instagram.
Called Cats.
Oh my God, how was? Because it was ballroom.
Because
like,
it was
voguing.
it was the new big production of Ballroom Cats. It was a fucking spectacular.
I
It was one of the
bet.
best fucking things I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. It was
so
it
much
was so
better to
crazy.
do it that way because like the plot isn't one, and so
There
it's
isn't
so
one.
much.
No, it doesn't exist.
And so it's so much more
Different
fun.
cats come out. The plot is look at these hot people dance, and it
Yeah.
delivers on that concept, right? So doing it like ballroom, doing it with fashion instead of literally being cats. Because I'll admit, when I hear like we're doing a production of Cats where they're not actually cats, I
didn't know.
I
the
go.
lack of cat aspect. Were
are-
the cat informed looks, vibes? Was anything cat related?
Not specifically. No,
Okay.
really, like, it was fashion. I mean, the fashion was out of control. Like, the costuming was fucking, like, that deserves, like, the biggest Tony I've ever seen in my entire life, right? It was just
really
biggest
well
Tony.
done.
They bring out the
Biggest
big
Tony
one.
I've ever fucking seen in my entire life.
But they are nominally humans. It doesn't really, like, it's not like it gets discussed. There's no dialogue. song. But it's all about fashion and ballroom and showcasing that. And so like, but they have interesting takes on the different characters. Again, I thought the costuming was spectacular, but also like Skimbleshanks the railway cat, worked for the MTA. And, like, so they're a subway conductor cat, and they worked the "stand clear of the closing doors, please" into the song, which just like killed, obviously, with a New York theater crowd. It was fucking spectacular. And there was one moment where this was one of those musicals. It's a trend I'm starting to see a little bit more, where they ask you to like make noise, where they are like, make as much noise as you want to. Normally, you know, when you watch a show, they want you to like sit there politely and then clap at the end. They're like, no. Like, go crazy, make noise. It works really well with the energy of the show. And also, I think it reduces talking. Because I've been to, like, 3 or 4 shows where they're like, make us, but, you know, just get kind of crazy with it, get into it. And I think it reduces chit-chat. It reduces, like, audience members talking because they're already encouraged to talk, like, not talk at the show, but you know what I mean. But there was one moment where like there's like an applause break for a costume, which I've never seen before in my entire life. There was like a moment where Monka Strap comes out and is wearing like this huge like Ra outfit, like the Egyptian god Ra, with like huge wings and these crazy shoes. And there's like a minute or 2 long just applause break for the costume. And then like one member of the audience was like, and there's, again, like 2 minutes into this standing ovation for a costume, was like, yes, shoes, yes, wings, yes, everything. And, like, everybody ate that up. But Old Deuteronomy really worked that audience member's outburst into the show. When they thumbs down Monka Strap, they made eye contact with that audience member. There's one moment in the final song where Old Deuteronomy, like, reminds us only to speak when spoken to, and again, like, Old Dude makes like eye contact with that audience member. And anyway, it's a fantastic fucking show. If you're in New York, if you can afford it, if you're visiting New York, I'd recommend everyone go see the current production of Cats. I had a classic Kevin Lanigan weekend. I watched Cats the musical, and then I also watched a 5-hour wrestling pay-per-view in person on Long Island. The classic Kevin Lanigan weekend.
How was that? Was that a blast?
It was unfucking believable. It was so crazy. I've seen AEW live like 3 or 4 times, and seeing like this huge crossover show with New Japan, some of the craziest fucking matches I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, the crowd was on their feet insane the entire time. It was incredible.
Yeah, I saw them when they were here. And obviously, like, that card was so incredible. What was that? Did you
see Dynasty?
Oh, yeah, Dynasty. That's what it was. Yeah, that was incredible.
I thought about making a trip to St.
Louis.
Dude,
it was honestly, like, the way I described it was like, this must be what it felt like to be in like the Roman Colosseum. Like, yes. I felt like anything was possible. Like when the Danielson match was starting and everyone was just like blowing up before it had even started. Like everyone was screaming, and like everyone around me, because I was in like the high up back area, everyone was leaning forward on the empty seats in front of them and pounding on the empty seats.
Yeah.
And it just felt like tapped into some like primal level of human experience that I was like, this is just so good. This is so good. This is art. This is high art.
Performance venues that encourage you to scream, to yell, to
scream
boo,
from the bottom
and that's
of your
like
core.
part of it. Like they want you to boo at certain points, you know? Like that's just such participatory theater in a way that it's very hard to quantify outside of professional wrestling.
I love my Scissor Me Daddy merch. I have to go to my virtual therapy appointment. Harry, it was a pleasure.
Yes.
It was a blast. Thank you.
You can keep on keeping on.
We'll wrap up probably pretty shortly after you.
Okay, but I changed my Instagram for anyone who cares. Gay for PowerPoint with the number 4. I love PowerPoint and gay for it. And if you want to hear more, DM me. Next up, we're doing our awards, right?
That's right. The next episode that'll drop will be announcing the nominees for the first annual Julia Awards, and we'll tell you how you can make your voice heard in that voting process.
Any guests who have been on and you're listening now, feel free to reach out. It'd be fun to see you.
Yeah,
again.
we'll be reaching out to you. We'll be asking for participation. However, guests, Harry, you included.
Feel free.
Is Money Monster eligible for awards? Did it
Not
make it?
for
This
season
is
one.
This is the final film
Oh,
in
really?
contention. Yeah,
Okay,
we're
yes,
doing
it
it based
is.
on the calendar, not the
Sorry.
season, quote unquote.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All
Okay.
right.
Money
Thank God.
Monster,
Thank
yes.
God Money Monster made it in.
The final in contention. Will it be nominated for any Julia Awards? We cannot say. We do not know. But we will soon find out.
Yes. Well, I could just use the wrestling as a clean transition to plug my movie to wrap up.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
The reason you are nominally here, not that I wouldn't enjoy having you on in any context, but yeah, I was like, listen, I don't have the biggest platform in the world, but like I want to use this platform to uplift other artists, people that I know, people who are making interesting work, and you are making a movie starring two people that I know that I will also be working on in like a small capacity.
So who do you know in the film already? I mean, other than Matt Cardona, which I don't know if you know him personally.
I do not know him personally. I saw him in The Last Match, the Pro Rock Wrestling.
I know. I saw that you saw that, which is so. I'm jealous you saw that.
I mean, yeah, it was incredible. And I will. I went to college with Jackie Kelly. Like Jackie Kelly was in my class at Webster University. And then Wolfgang, I wrote a short film that he starred in, and I worked on another short that he starred in.
Wow, yeah, that's the St. Louis. I mean, even though you're now in the New York creative community,
but it's very
like the St. Louis
tight, you know.
Yeah, and when that's sort of like how this whole thing has come together, even because like everyone on this has worked with each other before, and then it's exactly like that where like we're casting actors on it, and they're like, "Oh, hey man, like good to work with you again," to each other, and I'm like, I had no idea you guys have met. Like, I know you two from entirely different sectors of my life, and I had no idea you ever would have interacted.
But yeah, if they're in the general St. Louis film scene, I mean, it's a small community, you know. Everybody's
the small, really dedicated community, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, so it's like a bunch of people that like, because the scene's not huge here, everyone is like busting their ass all the time. So you get to know like the same people and work with the same people over and over.
Yeah,
again.
fucking Jackie Kelly is in like so many fucking horror movies.
Dude, she's doing. Jackie's doing big. We're really lucky to have her because she's Red Night at Skies, a movie that she has out right now, is really great. It's like premiering right now. It's doing its festival stuff. It's really incredible. If you get a chance to watch that, I would highly recommend it. Chris Grega's film.
Amazing. Are Jackie and I going to be on set at the same time?
I doubt. I don't think location wise. You're in different places in the movie. Your characters are.
I'll see her at the premiere.
I hope so. Yeah, no, it's really exciting. We have, along with the aforementioned Matt Cardona, who's just been super game. Like I used to be a pro wrestler, and that was sort of really. I don't know anybody that knows him. I know people that know him like in a peripheral sense. That I kind of like. I messaged them, and I was like, "How is he? Do you think that he'd be chill?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, he's a super nice dude. I think that he'd be a blast to work with." So then I just emailed his booking email, and I was like, "Hey man, like I used to be a wrestler. You shot your shot, I have Matt Fitchett and Mike Outlaw, who are St. Louis, Midwest area wrestlers. They were both in the movie, and I was just like, hey man, does it sound fun to you? And it did. And he's been totally great. He's been really great to communicate with, and I'm super excited to have him in the movie. And we also have Felissa Rose, who's like talking about someone who's been in a lot of horror movies, Star Sleepaway Camp. She's been in, she does so. If you look at her IMDb, it's like one of the most prolific IMDb's you'll ever see. When she's worked with our producer James Dean on his last film, Triple Xmas, which was about a killer Santa killing porn stars.
Of course.
That's not really. We're making sort of like a hard-boiled, like grounded Western, but that's the kind of like
they know how to put a movie together.
They know how to finish a movie. James has finished 2 films now, Fontaine and the Vengeful Nun Who Would Not Die, and Triple Xmas. And then also he has in the can a movie called Absolution, which I am in, and the star of Down the Long River, Kurt Abishant, star and writer of Down the Long River, that's my film. He's also in Absolution, and Absolution I think will also be out this year. So we all again, talking about the creative community just sort of like working with each other constantly. James is helping produce our film, but then this other film that we're in of his is also releasing around the time that we're going to be in post on our film. So it's all
amazing.
It's a very exciting time.
It's all happening.
But so the thing, if I'm here plugging something specifically, we're just in the last stretches of our Indiegogo fundraising to raise some money to make this as big as possible, because a Western is fucking hard.
Yeah,
as you can imagine. And this is a rather ambitious project. We have this whole really, really cool where you're going to be shooting it. We have this whole Old West town, which is like so all excited. These different buildings, like a mill, a schoolhouse, like it's all there. And it's this guy who just made this. He had this property where there were these two actually like period accurate cabins that existed for hundreds of years. And then he built this like town around it. And
that rocks. That's so cool.
We're the first film to ever shoot there. They hope to open it up to Missouri Film Office, and with all the tax incentives and stuff Missouri has, you could end up seeing this location in like a much bigger budget thing one day. But we're the first. We're the first to get in there, and it's going to add so much to it. And then our first day of shooting, which is 19 days away, when we start principal photography, that is on a paddle boat. Like on the river, like a period accurate paddle boat on the river. So we're starting big, and the whole thing's going to be pretty big and pretty expansive. So it's also going to be pretty expensive along with expansive. So that's why we're running an Indiegogo right now, which you can find very easily at downthelongriver.com. That should redirect you right to it. If for some reason it doesn't, indiegogo.com/downthelongriver will also get you there. And then I guess if I'm just plugging myself, I mean, you could go on Instagram to Down the Long River to follow updates on the movie specifically. Or you could follow me at Harry Kolmer, HARRYKOLMER at Instagram. And I'm not on the site that no one talks about anymore, the Forbidden Lands. You're still over there?
I'm hanging out. I'm rocking, honestly, over there on the website that nobody talks about. I'm having a great time. When specifically does the campaign wrap up on Indiegogo?
I think we're gonna hit like one more extension right now, because right now it's got about a week left, but I think we're gonna hit another extension. So probably about like 14 to I think around 2 weeks left from the day of this record. So I don't know when this episode's dropping.
I'll get it out ASAP. I want this to be a platform for everybody to catch on to it. So I will have it edited before July 4th, and then I'll just
okay, awesome. Yeah, well then the campaign will be going at least like another 10 days after that. So if anything, we got like signed Blu-rays. If you're a wrestling fan and you want to take home like the guns Cardona uses in the movie, the hat he wears in the movie. I know that like buying used ring gear is a thing. You want to buy it's not a used ring hat, but it's a used hat.
Movie props are a thing, Yeah,
absolutely. And like we actually have a ton of like these like custom made. Every character in the movie has like a different gun that is period accurate to the time. All these guns that like, I'm not a gun guy and I had never heard of all this shit. And then it's like every gun guy that reads the script's like, oh man, you have him having this thing? Wow, that's so cool, because he would have a mare's leg for sure. And I'm like, yeah, mare's leg.
Yeah, mare's leg. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. I played Red Dead Redemption. I know what I'm talking about. All of that that's all on the Indiegogo, downthelongriver.com. You can all that and more. Signed posters, signed Blu-rays, custom leather-bound copies of the script. As well, you could also, if you want to, go big, you could be a producer on the film. You could appear on screen with Felissa Rose or Matt Cardona. So just check it out. There's lots of cool stuff.
You could be like George Clooney in The Money Monster. You could get that producer credit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Come aboard.
Like all movie producers, can buy your way into being a movie producer.
Absolutely. And you'll get all of the credit with none of the stress.
And none of the work of booking locations, scheduling actors, hiring crew.
Yeah, everything I'm losing sleep about, you won't even know about. But you'll get right at the end of the movie, it'll be like co-produced by your beautiful name, and you'll feel so good.
It's gonna feel sick. It's gonna feel fucking great. I just watched a movie on the Criterion Channel about a woman who buys billboards just to put her own name up there. She's not advertising anything. And just put it, and like that's what you could do. You could get
that sounds good. What is that?
It's called It Should Happen to You. It's like 95 minutes. George Cukor from the 50s. I watched it all today. I just had a great time. It's a very lovely movie. Jack Lemmon is in it.
How old a movie is it?
What'd you say?
How old a movie is it?
Came out in 54.
Oh, man.
So it's a nice old...
That sounds good.
Today, on July 1st, they debuted like a whole like Columbia Pictures screwball comedy collection. And that's in there and a bunch of other shit. You know, His Girl Friday, ever heard of it? That one's in there.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't heard of that one.
A lot of
big fan of It Should Happen to You, but I don't know about His Girl Friday.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, exactly. So that's, I guess, one of my plugs. That collection on the Criterion channel, because I am working on the script for the first movie that I'm going to direct, which is a romantic comedy. So those, you know, having those inspirations just like right there.
Oh yeah, it helps a lot.
If I can't watch like Bringing Up Baby for the 50th time, you know, I can just pull like, what is this? I've never heard of this, but looks pretty all right, and throw that on.
I get that research, man. That's why I'm seeing Horizon, an American Saga.
I legit, again, sicko excited for Horizon. No one has said it's good. I can't wait.
I don't know a single. Everyone I trust has said it's not good.
Nobody likes it. I must be there. I will go next. I'm
going. I
don't have a lot going on from like the 4th to the 7th. So
I know. I have time off, and I messaged my partner, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I know we have plans, but at some point I need like 3.5 hours, probably 4 hours to go see the Kevin Costner
including commute.
Yeah. So I need like a huge amount of time. I was like, you can go with me. I do not expect you to.
Right. It's an option that's available to you, but no hard feelings if you are not.
Yeah, I'm not going to sentence anyone else to the fact that I really know I do need to, because how else am I going to be there on day one for part 2?
Exactly, which is, I think, going to come out like while you're shooting, right? Because part 2 comes out in like August or September, so you're going to have to lose some sleep to see part 2 in theaters as well.
I've actually blocked off time from shooting so that I can see Coraline in the 3D re-release.
Sure, you need time for yourself. You got to think about something else for a little.
So I maybe I'll double feature Coraline, and then I'll go into a 4-hour Horizon part 2 to end my night.
That's your Barbenheimer. Corizon.
Or just Coraline and American Saga part 2.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, I guess I'll sneak my little plugs in there, but go listen to Harry's plugs this time. But I gotta put mine on here, but go do Harry's plugs. Patreon.com/TVsKevin. Get episodes of this show early. Get first access to everything that I'm doing. I wrote a book. That's the best way to financially support me while I figure out what to do with that book. I got an ultimatum put on me to make my first feature within the next calendar year. So I guess I'm doing that. Patreon.com/TVsKevin is the best place to support me while I look at that undertaking dead in the eyes, and I have to not flinch. You know what I mean? I have to stare at that. You know this experience.
Yeah, no, it's a whole thing.
But the listeners of the show are cowards. I forgot to pitch this to Kat, but you know how Lady Gaga's fans are called little monsters? What if the fans of this show were called money monsters? Anyway, I'll have to talk to Kat about that later.
Good stick. It works.
Kat does listen to every episode of this show, so Kat will hear this on a sort of delayed fuse. So there's that. Yes, as aforementioned, we'll be back next time later this month. 2 more drops as we announce the nominees for the first annual Julia Awards and conduct the first annual Julia Awards. We're very excited about it. Thank you to all our wonderful money monsters who have joined us for this first calendar year. Now I know we were in season 2, but the calendar will hit late July, and we will have been doing the show for a year. I've had nothing but fun doing it. I know Kat would say likewise. So thank you all for that. Thank you, Harry, for joining for the Money Monster episode. No one better suited for the job, for helping be 1/3 of the definitive document, the definitive critical text.
The text for Money Monster. The Rosetta
Stone. To understand Money Monster. And all you little money monsters out there in Radio Land and all the ships at sea, sleep tight.
Lies, you're telling me that you'll be true. Lies, that's all I ever hear from you. Tears, I shed 1,000,000 now you're loving someone new. Someday I'm gonna be happy, but I don't know when, just now. Lies, you're breaking my heart.
Tastes like you, but sweeter.
Please tell your friends about this show.
That was quite a show, very entertaining. I want to live!
This has been a Talkback Podcast.